The fans are getting their money's worth here tonight as this ball game goes right down to the final wire. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Here's the pitch to Landers. Ground ball hit back to Pete.
On the final day of the 1972 Canadian Men's Fastball Championship, the Weyburn Canadians from Saskatchewan would need to win 4 straight games to capture a gold medal. Weyburn beat Quebec 11-1 in the morning and edged New Brunswick 1-0 in the early afternoon to keep their dream alive. A tense 1-0 win over Nova Scotia propelled them to the winner-take-all championship game. Waiting for the Canadians in that gold medal game were 4,000 fans and the Richmond Hill Dynes of Ontario. Not only were the Dynes the defending champions, earlier that year in March in the Philippines, Richmond Hill became the first Canadian team to win the ISF World Championship, beating the mighty Americans 1-0 in 11 innings. The Weyburn Canadians were a part of the Inter-City League that included 5 teams from Regina, Moose Jaw, and Weyburn in South Saskatchewan. They won the provincials that year in fierce competition, sending them to Edmonton for the national championship. The Dynes were captained by Bobby Smith. The Canadians featured a young left-hander by the name of Peter Landers. This is their story.
Backing up, he takes it. Weyburn have won the Canadian Softball Championship with a 2-0 victory against the Richmond Hill Dynes.
We pick up the game in the bottom of the 5th inning with the Weyburn Canadians leading Richmond Hill 2-0. Pete Landers to this point has only given up a lone hit and the Dynes have only managed 3 base runners. Dan Secondiuk has scored 2 runs for the Canadians in the 1st and the 5th, brought home on an RBI single by Dwight McMillan to provide an insurance run.
The leadoff man, Joe O'Neill, in Richmond's half of the 5th inning. Outside. Ball 3. Landers working gingerly to the left fielder, Joe O'Neill. 3 balls, 1 strike. Landers sets off the rubber. All the pressure now is on him. Visible.
Pete, they just said all the pressure's on you right now. You've got a 2-0 lead against the world champions. Were you feeling that at that time?
No, mainly because I've played against Richmond Hill quite a bit since 1968. And we weren't worried about anything. Like, we just went out. We probably didn't expect to win the game, but we just talked before the game started. We're just going to go out and let's play the good ball that we've been capable of playing all year and have fun with it.
Here's the 3-1 pitch. Oh, struck 2. O'Neill had a couple of steps heading towards first. Casey Crisp arguing off third. I don't think anything is going to shake the composure of this umpire. Clint Murphy of Edmonton, who seems to be most confident, as Casey Crisp is in yipping at plate umpire Murphy saying it was high. There's a high fly ball. McMillan chasing it and takes it in foul territory in right field. As Joe O'Neill flies like McMillan. There's one away here on the bottom of the 5th.
At this point, you're up 2-0. This is your 4th game of the day.
Right.
You started out against Quebec, and then New Brunswick, and then Nova Scotia. How many of those did you pitch?
I relieved in 2 of those games, the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia games. I relieved in them. So I only pitched a couple of innings in each game. Our team was relatively unnoticed because a lot of them had not played in provincial championships or represented Saskatchewan before. So they weren't really well known. But we had a good ball club because that year, you talk about it being your year. Well, that was our year. We won 3 tournaments. We won the Klondike tournament, and then we won the provincial tournament, and now we won the Canadians. So, you know, as far as confidence goes, I never ever lacked confidence. Worrying about things, I just never worried. I just went out and threw the ball. What happened, happened.
Bottom of the 5th inning. How about this? Weyburn Canadians leading the Richmond Hill Dynes, the world champions of softball, here in the Canadian Softball Championship for 1972. And it'll bring up Bob Shelston, the catcher. He's a left-handed batter. Here's the pitch from Peter. Fouled back onto the screen. Strike 1. No balls, 1 strike. Well, it'll be, I suppose, sometime before we get an opportunity to bring you a Canadian Softball Championship again with Weyburn involved. We hope that you're enjoying it as much as we are bringing it. Oh! What a Yeah. That ball kind of came in like a corkscrew and then suddenly dropped. For a strike across the plate. This looked like an example of gravity on the moon when you let something go down. Swinging at a ball, it's knocked down by Trevor Bell, and there's an error there on the first baseman. He hit a changeup as Landers came back with another one, and an error will be charged here. There's 2 away.
You doubled up on the changeup. Did you do that a lot?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Jim Penrod was a good caller. He was a good receiver, and he was very, very smart at calling the play. And I always, whatever the catcher calls, I'm going to throw it.
So you were letting Jimmy call the game?
I always let the catcher call a game. And, you know, I had 4 good pitches that I could throw for strikes at just about any time, so I wasn't afraid of throwing anything at any time. And Jimmy liked to double up on the batters quite often. And at this time, the first time I threw a changeup, it was really good. And the second time I didn't grip it properly as well, and it wasn't as good a changeup, and he ended up hitting it. But that's the nature of the game.
That's the game.
Bottom of the 5th inning, and a man that can hit the ball a long way, Bob Domick, is at the plate. He struck out the last time up. Here's the pitch.
Bobby, Bob Domick was he was your ace this week, but he was a two-way threat at the plate too.
If Bob hit the ball, it would go to the park, but he wasn't going to get on base a lot. but that type of thing was Bob. But it's all or nothing. But when he hit it, he would hit it far. But you know, in those days, pitchers hit, so you didn't get around that. Drennan was actually a better hitter than Bob.
Yeah, but a two-way threat nonetheless. Yeah.
Oh yeah, could change the score. He could change the score.
Yeah.
I suppose you could go a long way to see a performance like Landers has put on here today. The variety of pitches, the way he sets them off balance, that off-speed changeup, that hooking curveball that is so unusual in softball today, all of it put together by Landers. And Weyburn, rising to the occasion against an all-world pitcher, Bob Domick, getting base hits and 2 runs to put Weyburn in front 2-0. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Landers pumps it by him. No ball, 2 strikes, 2 away. Shelton for Richmond is on at first. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Weyburn 2, Richmond Hill nothing. The Canadian Softball Championship. Domick trying to throw Landers off. Steps into the batter's box and out. And now, as we expected before, Richmond will be trying several means of trying to throw off the Canadians, and particularly Landers.
So this wasn't anything new to you? Step in, step out?
Oh, no. A lot of teams did that in our day. And I just stood on the mound and twirled the ball around, let them get back in, and let's go at it again.
Landers has seen this before. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Change up. Oh! Landers was heading for the dugout. Whoa, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Heading for the dugout along with the team. I think the fans are now starting to see something in the 5th inning. They are anticipating a win and a colossal gargantuan upset by a team from Weyburn.
Here's the 1-2 pitch high and inside. Ball 2. Penrod got that glove hand up quickly.
So you did come up and in on him after he stepped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always found that a good pitch, and I was glad Jimmy was thinking the same way, because my changeup always dropped. And so come up and in on him, and it changes his whole eyesight, and, you know, so it worked out pretty good.
For a good whipping fastball. Up near the jaw, Bob Domick. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Landers strikes out Domick. And they leave a man on. No runs, no hits. 1 error, 1 left. We play 5. Weyburn Canadians 2. The world champion Richmond Hill Dynes nothing.
Bobby, can you talk about the Worlds here? We know you won the 72 ISF World Championship. Softball fans know that Dick Hames pitched the 11 innings and he drove in the winning run. But tell us a little bit more about that tournament, because details, quite honestly, they're hard to come by.
We started out slow. We played a team from Thunder Bay who had a Canadian pitcher who threw orthodox. This is things you don't know about the tournament. And then we played, they got there by playing a 5-team league in Hong Kong. So what they did to go to the World Championship was take 3 guys off each team and go to the World Championship. I said, really? I said, we go through Ontario, Canadian, all this kind of stuff, but that's different people doing different things. In the round robin, the only game we lost was to Mexico. We lost 5-1. We beat the United States 1-0, with Hames, of course. I shouldn't say of course, because Bob would get upset, but, you know. So we ended up beating them. They end up first. So we ended up in the playoffs. So the first game we played was New Zealand. We beat them 1-0. That was Kevin Hurley. And Hurley was a straight drop ball pitcher, but he was pretty good. In the final game we played Cedar Rapids again, the Americans, with Dick Brubaker pitching. So I will ballyhoo, but tracking back, first runner gets on, I'm supposed to sacrifice and throw the guy out at second. So anyway, I stole second, and Joey O'Neill got a base hit, so we won that one 1-0. And Brubaker was a drop ball pitcher too, so he struck me out 3 times. So I chopped one over the third baseman's head. Then we end up with bases loaded, and Dick chopped one past the pitcher. That's the shorts of what happened. But Bob Darmick was the MVP, but the real MVP was Dick Hames. He gave up 11 hits in that game, but as soon as they got runners on, all of a sudden things changed, and we got out of it.
But huge memories about the tournament itself, not just the games.
Not knowing what we were getting into and going there was pretty. Things will be highlights or not highlights. First of all, Manila was under martial law, so everywhere you went, there was soldiers with machine guns and guys directing traffic. Like whoa, whoa, and you'd have one fella who was your guide. And he would have, like, he had a pro-handle revolver in his drawers there, and they would drive us downtown. But they had built a new stadium for what they call the Asian Games, and it held up to 25,000 for a bit. But after every game, they would have, similar to what the major, you go into a certain area of the underground where there's a community center, and they had food all laid out for all the ball players and all that kind of stuff. But we traveled by bus from the hotel to the park. We had a couple of trips, one Marikina City, which was outstanding because every store for 3 blocks in Marikina City was a shoe store. And they would have on the made in Italy, that's where they did that. We were very friendly. We got to know, our host was a small guy named, I forget his name. Anyway, we got to meet his family and the people in the community, and we embraced that part. They are very economically, talk about low wages. I would go up by myself to eat, and because you had to stay away from the water, basically. And I'd leave a tip for a quarter, and they'd say, well, sit at my table next time you come in. That's how tough it was. Private secretaries made $1.25 a day. That's all they made. But when we got invited to the government houses, and you walk in there, it's like, hold it, how come some of this stuff isn't cashed in and given to your people, you know? And Marcos was there with Imelda Marcos. We got to meet them. But it was, they really embraced the tournament. Their team wasn't bad. As a matter of fact, 2 of them came here and played in Ontario, and they played out of Newmarket. The shortstop and his brother played second base. But it was enlightening, especially that martial law stuff. Until you see it, it's like, whoa, hold it, what's going on? And we were told, don't go out at nighttime, okay? And, you know, stay in your hotel. There's only one guy who didn't, people will understand, is Derek Kinnersley. He was out there hanging around with all the guys outside. He came back, those were the best people to be with, because they would take you around to different places. They weren't like, I guess according to the power pack, they were like gangsters, because they didn't abide by those rules. But those people were pretty nice. But went out a few times, had fun.
Henrod hits a high fly, lazy pop upwind in left field, and Joe O'Neill takes it for the out. There's 1 away. 1 down. Here on the top of the 6th inning, Weyburn Canadians 2 and Richmond Hill Dynes nothing. The Canadian Softball Championship at stake. Here's the pitch. Swung on a ground ball, hit towards short. Downing cuts it off, throws to first, and it was a close play as Billows can really fly with that extra step out of the box, being a left-handed batter. 2 out in a hurry on 3 pitches by Bob Domick.
Pete, you're standing on deck. They've just got 2 out on 3 pitches. Are you hoping that Trevor Bell is going to take 1 or 2 here to give you a bit of a break?
No, I didn't concentrate on hitting. You know, I was focused on pitching. If I got up to bat, that's fine. As it turned out, Trevor did get on base, and I did get an opportunity to come up to bat.
Bob Domick was a power pitcher, right?
Yes.
And not much of a changeup guy. So you got a bit of a contrast here.
Yeah.
Pete changeups and curveballs, and Domick come right after you with the hard stuff.
I would classify it the way I normally do. Pete was a pitcher, Bob was a thrower.
Right.
Bob threw rise balls. You never saw a changeup, you never saw a drop. That was it. And a lot of times it was right down the pipe. So as I told people, I said you get 3 good swings at Bob Domick, almost every at bat.
Hit it if you can.
He believed in striking people out. As one pitcher told him once, do you ever think about getting 21 ground balls? That was my case. But I like Bob, but still, he never threw those, a changeup or a drop. And if you can't do that, I know he struck out and he was successful in his way, but I've seen a lot of balls disappear also.
Pitcher Pete Landers is on deck. Not expected to be an over dangerous situation for Domick here. There's a line shot. Oh, the ball knocked down by the shortstop and a base hit by Trevor Bell. Trevor ripped that ball towards the hole in short. And you've got to give full marks to Les Downing, who went over there towards the hole at third, backhanded the ball, knocked it down, and kept it from going perhaps for a double, although with the great speed of Joe O'Neill and left, he would have been up close on the play. The Canadians, though, get another hit, and they have been hitting Domick. Landers is at the plate. 1 ball, no strikes with 2 away. Swung on a line drive. Downing just hauled that one down as Landers nearly lifted it out into left field. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 Weyburn runner left on. We go.
So Pete, you hit a line shot. You got all of it, but you hit it right
Yeah.
at Downing, and was able to come down with it.
It was nice of Bob to hit my bat for me. But Downing, at least he could have dropped it or let it go by, let me have a hit.
Would have been nice to get another insurance run,
Well,
too.
yeah, well, would have been nice to get a hit, I guess, but
Bobby, you're going to come up in the 6th inning. You guys haven't had really much luck against Pete at all. What's the feeling on the bench at this point? I mean, you guys have got all the experience in the world.
I don't think there was really a stress to it, though, even though the innings are short. On Pete's behalf, like, we had seen him as much as he'd seen us, but when Pete was pitching for Weyburn, this may not be his view, but Pete earned the nickname the Hook, and this basically was some of the guys that were strong hitters. They weren't used to seeing a bevy of curveballs and changeups. They were all going up expecting probably more fast pitches. And the game plan worked out pretty good because all it takes is for 1 inch or 2 inches to turn a line drive into a ground ball. And we put the ball in play. But the defense they had was pretty good. And the idea of favorite versus underdog is from something from the past, right? Because when you get to the Canadians, and in fastball, 1 error could change the whole ball game around to do a whole bunch of things. But I don't really recall any, worry to a degree. Now, inside they may be, but I'm like Peter, I was a chatter guy, like to keep everybody involved and say, let's go. We still have 2 innings. And just play it as it goes.
0-2 pitch foul back. Change it. Swings and misses like crazy. Oh, he laid it on in. Strikeout number 8 for Pete Landers, the left-hander. He has got these people mesmerized here in the bottom of the 6th.
I'm laughing about something else because I don't recall the game. I was talking about. I don't think he only had 3 strikeouts. That's what I was laughing at because I remember differently than Domick because playing in the field, and Bob's sort of a guy, but I just know that he kept us off downs quite a bit. That was a pretty good game plan for that. That's a lot of
The
strikeouts.
batter is Bob Smith. Right-handed batter. Here's the pitch. Out in, that's going into the hole. Maybe a great play by Wayne Bell as he throws it in. And a fine defensive play by Wayne Bell out in center. That ball was heading up the alley in left center field, and Wayne Bell got over there in a hurry to keep it down to a single rather than a possibility of a double. It was more.
Bobby, were you looking for a specific pitch in that at bat, or you just got something you felt you could handle?
No, I rarely look for a pitch, except if it was around the plate. No, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I did have a feeling, like, I haven't seen Pete a lot. I didn't mind batting against any left-handed batter because most of their curveballs would come in. But I really rarely went up there thinking I'm going to wait for the change-up and wait for it. As soon as I saw a ball near the plate, I was swinging. That's my way.
Now, the outfielder cut this one off. It was in the gap. Did you have any notion of going to two?
Always.
Do you remember?
Always.
Always?
Yep. As soon as it hits the outfield, I make a big turn. Yep.
Would have Bell had taken his time, maybe decided not to throw fast, I guarantee you Smith would have gone because they are gambling. I wouldn't be surprised to see Smith go. They need to run. They need to run bad to get back in the contention. They may set them with 2 down, maybe even with 1 down.
There's 1 out. And Les Downing, batting third in the order, is at the plate. Swung on, there's another base hit. Out into right field. Picking it up is McMillan. The throw comes in. It was cut off, and Smith slides in. Here's the throw back to second. They got him. Smith. The Kodiak has the ball, but he was spiked, I think, at second. Was it called safe or out? Time is called. And Smith is at third. Alex Kodiak got spiked there, I think, at second on the play.
Yes, I believe.
So, Bobby, you went first to third on the Downing hit, without a doubt.
Yep.
But he gets thrown out at second base. Was that a turning point in the game?
I think so. Only to that point, because I don't know, Les was a big person, and I guess when the throw going to third, he thought he could make it, but where we were in the game, we only had so many. You definitely don't need an out. It was a bit disappointing, but not drastic, you know. But first and third would have been a lot better than getting thrown out second.
And Pete, for you, you know, that's a huge bit of defense there from your team, and Bobby said that your team was playing good defense behind you, but big difference with now a runner at third with 2 out versus 2 guys on and only 1 out.
That play was made because of our shortstop. Dwight McMillan in right field threw the ball, and he was going to third base with it. Our shortstop was about the height of Bobby Smith. He jumped up. I know on the tape it's saying that it was cut off and thrown back to the base, but Dan Sekundiak, because the second baseman went out for the cutoff man, Dan Sekundiak was covering second base. He jumped up, picked off the ball, and got Les Downing coming into second. Now Les probably was making a good play because he thought it was going to third base, but Dan Sekundiak made the play of the game, because if he doesn't make that play, now you've got 4 and 5 hitters coming up. And with that, it gave us a big boost. It gave us a big lift. So if you talk about plays, that was the play of the ball game.
There are 2 out. The cleanup man is at the plate. Flanders has been hit twice in succession here. Swing and a miss. Strike 1. Also, Jim, let's say maybe an inexperienced player to throw to the wrong base. McMillan threw right up the raised base, and let's not just always blame Richmond Hill. Give credit to McMillan for his throw. Change up. Swung out and missed. Strike 2. Flanders going to work here. This is the crucial point of the ball game. Smith is on at third. DeReuter is at the plate. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 2-0 Weyburn leads the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Flanders strikes him out, and they leave a man at third. And Weyburn stay ahead by a score of 2-0 after 6 innings of play. As Flanders gets through the order of 1, 2, 3, and 4, perhaps for the last time.
When I listen to this tape, I really get thrilled about it. When you can hear the crowd in the background, when you throw a change-up and it works real well, and they're all mesmerized, and you know, what a great feeling that is for me, and what a great out that was.
Well, sir, here we are. 2-0 Weyburn lead Richmond Hill Dynes. The Canadian Softball Championship at stake. Richmond Hill will bat in the bottom of the seventh. They will bat. They will have one last chance. The way that Landers is pitching, the name, the top pitcher in Canada, is usually synonymous with Dick Hames. Some people will be challenging that credibility after tonight's performance if the score remains what it is.
So the commentators here, Peter, just compared you right to Dick Hames. So you
Right.
on a level with Dick Hames. What would you have thought of that 45 years ago?
Well, you know, Dick Hames was probably the big name in Ontario when I was coming up. But I always maintained, if somebody said, well, who was the best? There was no best. We had so many good pitchers. And to be compared with Dick Hames was probably a great privilege.
Bobby?
I agree with what Peter says. There is no greatest, if not equal to best. It's every pitcher can be hit, or every pitcher could throw a no-hitter every game. Dick was very effective. I was on a show once, and I think my top five were Pete, Dick, Reno Petnuzzo from up north. I can't remember the other two, and then I include Frank Marshall, because I played with Frank Marshall a lot. In Toronto and area, as I say, Ontario Fastball, there were a lot of good pitchers. And for the sake of an error or two errors or whatever, they could be in a really good position as opposed. Peter, I remember from Scugog Cleaners, I think, right?
Yep.
Juniors. So I'd seen him a lot, but I've seen a lot of pitchers. And of course, when you go to the States, they ballyhoo all their pitchers.
Yeah.
But I remember playing. In '77 we played in Burlington, and we won 5 tournaments of the OFL, and we got to the tournament in Burlington or St. Catharines, and the guy, we were playing Millersville, and we ended up beating them, and they said, oh, if Ty Stofflet was here. I said, well, why didn't you pick him up and bring him? You know, don't tell me about guys that aren't here.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're just getting beat, so like look out. But there are a lot of guys that are pretty good. Dick was pretty effective. You get a few hits off him, but he was pretty cagey, but not overpowering. Pete at one point was overpowering.
Pete, you had a young Gene McWillie on this Weyburn team too, and he would, of course, go on to have a heck of a career. And we talked about Bob Domick being hard throwing, but I don't think anybody before or since has thrown as hard as Gene McWillie. What do you remember about Gino?
Well, Gino was a great pitcher. I had the opportunity to play against Gino quite often in the Canadians, and of course when I was in Saskatchewan, and he was a great pickup for us because that gave us 3 strong pitchers, as was noticed in the Sunday. I didn't have to pitch all the games. We started with Red Friesen, who was unknown whatsoever outside of Saskatchewan. He was a good thrower, a good drop ball thrower. Gino was well known. You know, he was known to be one of the best, probably the best in Saskatchewan at that time, and myself. So I had the opportunity to relieve a couple of times on Sunday and then be fresh to throw the final game.
Bottom of the 7th inning, George Chapman, Joe O'Neill, Brian Ferry, 5, 6, and 7 in the order. Pete Landers trying to give Weyburn their first Canadian softball championship. There's an outfield hit to left. Oh, and look at out there in Delmarvillos. 1 pitch, 1 out.
You were probably right to be worried about Chapman because he hit it pretty hard, but Billows tracked it down for you.
Yes. Our outfield was pretty quick. Dwight was a little bit slower, but he was very experienced. He was a guy that could position himself, but Elmer Billows and Wayne Bell were both fast runners and very quick, and so yeah, it was good.
We were talking, Bobby, a little bit earlier about George Chapman. He left actually after that season. They went out to play in the Western League.
Edmonton.
Had a great career and is in the Softball Alberta Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame in Edmonton. George was a very slight guy, as I told you before, but what he was a spray hitter, so you didn't play really deep for him because he could run. But he played first base pretty good. As I said, now Les was afraid to hurt him, but he played the 1 year and then he went out west and he had a pretty good career out there.
Bring up Joe O'Neill, the left fielder. This guy is a scrappy batter.
Scrappy, good, effective. Tonight he's hit the ball all occasions. One back from the box, and the last time a pretty good shot to right field. 2 left to go, Jim. The crowd is starting to get anxious. Here's the first pitch. Oh, he whacked that one. A changeup out into left field. Don't throw with it. Ball game's not over. Here's the throw coming in. And a base hit as O'Neill really lashed that changeup past Buzzy Bennett's third. Did he hit it?
You think he was sitting on it?
Right?
No, I don't think. I just didn't throw a good one at that point. And Joe O'Neill just swung the bat. I don't think he picked out pitches or, you know. The only thing I probably never threw Joe O'Neill was a curveball. But he was a good hitter. He was a good hitter.
You got a runner on board with 1 out, Bobby. You need 2 runs, but you got to be feeling good at this point.
Well, it buoys a little bit of hope, you know. We're a good tournament team, and therefore we really never gave up. And it was a close ball game, so anything can happen. Joe, pretty good, pretty aggressive ball player. One of my best roommates. This here Twit was a good roommate too.
The second baseman. You don't need to think that this world champion ball club is going to go down without a tenacious struggle. There's 1 away in the bottom of the 7th inning. Called strike 1 to Ferry. Flanders gets stronger and stronger as the ball game goes on. He gets stronger also. We have the type of hitter in Ferry. 1 swing can do it. He did it against New Brunswick. Oh, strike 2 on the outside corner. Flanders really pumping them in. O'Neill with a base hit is on at first. No balls and 2 strikes. Ferry batting 7th in the lineup. Here's the pitch. Foul back onto the screen as the upshoot started to break up onto the hands of the batter. No balls, 2 strikes. Quite a performance all the way. Here we have 2 strikes, no balls. Brian Ferry down to the last strike. We'll see Flanders go for this changeup. Here's the 0-2 offering. Oh, just high, and Ferry thought he might like a piece of that. He held on. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 out. O'Neill is on the base hit at first. Here's the pitch. Changeup. It's blocked nicely by Penrod as the ball drops behind the plate. And the fine catcher, Penrod, acquired from Saskatoon, did a good job in keeping that ball in front of him, and therefore the runner is first. He may not be hitting like Weyburn expected him to when they picked him up, but he's done a good job defensively, Jim. Here's the 2-2 pitch. A little bit high, ball 3. Oh, we're down to the nitty-gritty of it all.
Pete, they just talked about Jim Penrod, your catcher for the tournament. Talk about throwing to him that week. You've mentioned that you let him call all the games.
Yes, that's correct. He was a good receiver, and he had the smarts behind the plate. He probably never faced Richmond Hill before, but he had the knack of watching a guy come into the box and studying them, and he was easy to throw to. You know, you were comfortable, and just put down a number and I'll throw it.
A full count here. Flanders pitching to Bob Ferry. Foul back onto the screen, and Ferry stays in there. The fans are getting their money's worth here tonight as this ball game goes right down to the final wire. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Here's the pitch to Landers. Ground ball hit back to Pete. The throw over to first. There's 2 away. O'Neill will hold at second.
So a real long at bat. I mean, you had him 0-2. He fouled off a couple. You went to the full count. Now you got a ground ball right back to yourself. Did you give any thought to going to second base?
No, I didn't. I think it was a 2-hopper back to me, and I've always learned as a pitcher, if you don't get a 1-hopper back at you real quick, and Joe O'Neill was very speedy, just take the out. And getting back to Jim Penrod, in that case, this is how smart he was and how he worked. We had gone a changeup, rise ball, changeup, 3 rise balls again, and then he called for a drop ball that I got in on his hands, and he grounded out to me.
So you got the tapper.
He got the tapper back to me.
And it will bring up Bob Shelton, the catcher. There are 2 outs. And what a moment here in softball history for the Weyburn Ball Club.
And they may be putting on a pinch hitter for Shelston, and I think that's what'll happen. I'm sure with the stage of the game, trailing 2 runs, he's going to go for someone who can hit that long ball. And there are times to play for a single run and others for the big one. Looks like we've got a biggie coming up here. Looks like Kennedy.
Bob Kennedy, he managed to make a couple of different sports and a couple of different teams. He was fair, but he was on a downslide sort of thing. But he was a right-hand batter. Everybody here knows that Pete was very difficult for lefties to hit, and Shelley was a fair hitter, but with that breaking ball, it's very difficult. So it wasn't a bad move, to tell you the truth. But Bob didn't play a lot during the year. But he still contributed when he was there. That's what I can say.
Kennedy will be the batter. Bob Kennedy is at the plate. No balls and no strikes to him. Here's the first pitch. High, ball 1. There's 2 away. Here's the bottom of the 7th. Weyburn trying to hang on to a 2-0 lead. Joe O'Neill at a base hit is at second. Here's the pitch. Here's a high fly ball. Fastball going over to the dugout. Backing up. He takes it. Weyburn has won the Canadian Softball Championship with a 2-0 victory against the Richmond Hill Dynes.
High fly ball in the infield. As the ball's up in the air, do you have a sense of the accomplishment that's about to happen here? That you've upset the defending Canadian champions and the reigning world champions?
All I wanted to do was see Trevor catch the ball. I had a knack of when with a right-handed batter, when I threw the rise ball, I could curve it and get it up in tight. And I was fortunate. I got it up into his fists, and he popped it up in the air. But once he made the catch, I'll tell you.
A lot of relief, a lot of celebration, I'm sure.
Right.
Bobby, the Dynes would come back, won the Canadians again in '73. Yeah. 2 and 3 years. Was this one that got away?
No, I never looked at it really that way. We love to win, but I also take a lot of pride in the fact that we won 3 straight Ontarios. And I consider the Ontario elimination the best tournament in the world. And the fact that we won 3 of them, we had to come back after losing the first game in '73. But no, I hate to lose. Actually, Pete doesn't know this, but Joe O'Neill and I crashed their party. I didn't find any rum there, so I had to drink beer.
Pete, you had won in '70 with London Cable, and I believe in '74, right, with Oshawa Tonys. How do all of these compare?
I think this '72 one was the greatest. The one in '70, we went through easily. I think we were 8-0. We never lost a game. This one in '72, we lost, and we had the battle because we're in a 3-way tie now. And the one in '74 with Tony's, we lost our first game to Yukon Territory, and we battled back, and we ended up playing dates in the finals, and but I think the greatest gratification I ever got was out of this game in '72.
Both of you guys stayed active in the game through the '80s and into the '90s. Bobby, the Toronto Bingos team, was active in the Masters circuit for many. You even brought the big lefty on board. Right. At one point many years later. How much fun did you guys have when you finally did get together?
I had an enormous amount of fun. I don't know. I tried to get Pete to go 3 years prior to that, but he was coaching his son's hardball. So finally he went up because he had relatives up there, and of course they were actually happy to see Pete Landers up there. He may know about it, but they were excited. And I said, well, you got to remember, the guy's in his 60s. Like, you're not going to see the 25-year-old Pete Landers.
This is in North Bay for the World's,
yeah. And so we got him up there for a couple of years. But everything after a certain point was enjoying myself. I never won. I was in the finals twice in North Bay in 25 years. And I walked away from there laughing and joking. And when I come up the next year, people were happy to see us because we came to play ball, have fun, sit in a beer tent. Some guys went up. That's all I wanted to do is win. There's no money involved, so I don't know why they'd stack their teams, But I tried later on in Masters to surround myself with guys who were pretty good gentlemen, pretty good ball players. They like to drink, they like to have fun, and that's what I did, and worked out pretty good, you know, and met a lot of people in North Bay, and a lot of people through ball, and I still, you run into them. It's like yesterday is difficult to remember, but 40 years ago, well, maybe not so long.
Pete, saw you last year coaching the Oshawa juniors in Tavistock at the Canadian Under-21 tournament. How much fun do you get out of coaching?
I had a great time. I coached with John for 6 years, and unfortunately we didn't have pitching until finally last year. We had 2 pitchers that were good, and we had a very competitive ball team. I remember we went to Coburg and we ended up beating the old Gators team. We beat them twice in that tournament, ended up winning the tournament. And that really boosted the kids. They really came on after that. Then the next weekend we won the Pickering tournament. So I really enjoyed it. I tried working with the pitchers, but it's a different era. Like they all want to hop and jump, and they don't understand that you should be landing on your front leg and getting your hip out of the way so that you can get your wrist moving around and get better movement. I've gone to tournaments and watched the pitchers and everything else. I just don't find that they have the break on the rise ball that we had. And therefore, there's a lot of home runs being hit. If you're going to throw a rise ball and it's not going to jump, it's going to jump out of the park. And you know, you have your exceptions in the good pitchers. They're jumping, but the ball's moving. And I just found in our day there were more pitchers that made the ball move than there is today.
Guys, the game has taken the two of you all over North America, all around the world. What are a couple, just pick a couple of your favorite memories?
Oh, definitely going to New Zealand. I had the opportunity to go there 2 years in a row. The first year in '75, I went with Oshawa, and we went down and played an exhibition series, and people put us up, and we were there for 2 weeks, I think, and that was a great experience. You know, going down and staying with the people and going back to their bars after, and it really shocked me the first time I stepped out to play in New Zealand, and here we are on a soccer field, and they bring out a rubber mat that you got to throw off. Well, I think we all found that to be a little difficult at the start, but by the end of the tournament, I think we're doing pretty good. And you know, and just traveling around to the different towns, every place I went, you got to talk to people after the game, and you know, they all wanted to come up and see you and talk to you. And this is probably the biggest thrill I get out of ball now when I go to the park is somebody, you'll see them, they'll stand there and they'll be looking at you, you know, and they're not sure, and finally a guy will come up and, are you Pete Landers? Oh yeah. And you'll sit there for an hour and a half talking to this person. And they'll bring back memories to me that I forgot all about, you know. So this is what I've gotten out of the game is just comradeship with all the players and all the teams, and I've always felt that I was a good guy, and one of the reasons I got picked up is because I had a good personality. I got along with everybody. I didn't cause any hassles, and I just did my job. So that's what I got out of the game.
Bobby?
He was effective, that's what should have. I actually have several that I can remember. I'll save the last one, but I got a chance to go with Grimsby to Panama for 2 weeks, play ball there. We went to 3 straight ISCs by qualifying in Ontario. Got to see California. It was pretty nice. Got to Phoenix, Arizona. It was pretty nice. Saw a lot of good ball games. There's one other I've forgotten right now, but the best was, of course, the world trip, because I got to stay in the Philippines for 2 weeks. I got to go to Japan, Got to go to Hawaii, all on the trip. Now it's only like a day trip, but memories of off the field is pretty good for that trip. And I got to take my wife, who hated flying, but she went anyway. But just meeting people, seeing ball all over the place, and then coming back to realize what a lot of guys may not know is Ontario Fastball was the best place in the world, where Americans didn't even have, and then also going to Clearwater with Pete and stuff, playing the Bombers, Clearwater Bombers, and split with them before it poured rain. But a lot of people don't realize that Americans don't have leagues. They travel a lot, so their budget. I remember playing in Phoenix and the Turquoise Kings. The guy's budget was $150,000. I said, what? Because Tony's would give Oshawa $2,000 or $5,000 for the whole year. But they're flying everywhere and stuff. But those sort of things, I'm pretty proud of coming out of Ontario and doing so well. They beat us at the start, but then we end up beating a lot of American teams. But Pete had some pretty good years when we were going away. Tell you, when it got up to the 80s, 80 degrees, look out. Pretty close to untouchable. Clearwater, again, 19 strikeouts. We played Clearwater, and we beat them 2-1. But they were 44-1 when we went there. But you couldn't breathe for one. I said, nobody. You beat everybody. Nobody could breathe down here. But anyway, it's a lot of good memories. But friends is the biggest part. I look at no matter where you go.
Peter Landers, Bobby Smith, thank you very much for the opportunity today to relive the 1972 Canadian Men's Championship and for sharing your time with us. Thank you.
The Weyburn Canadians are the softball champions of Canada as the Canadians beat Richmond Hill Dynes 2-0. Pete Landers in a masterful performance here tonight beats the all-world pitcher Bob Donick. Saskatchewan getting a standing ovation from the crowd here at Park Stadium in Edmonton. And it was 4 games in a row today. All of them victories, all of them must games, all of them pressure-filled, and the Canadians rose to the occasion. And these two fine ball teams now line up to shake hands as the Canadians can truthfully say, we are number one.